everyone, and welcome to the chat. I'm Catalina Alers. We have Stacy, Angelia, and Joey with a dash of testosterone joining the panel today.
Always.
Yes. It is. We always like it because you always bring a different point of view to the panel.
I try.
So it's always a good time. All right, but we are going to start off today with something a little more serious, as emotions continue to run high in Charlottesville, Virginia, as well as across the country today after clashes between white nationalist groups and counter-protesters turned deadly. 20-year-old James Alex Fields plowed through a crowd of people protesting a white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, killing one person and injuring at least 19 others. While thousands are now taking part in anti-hate rallies across the country, President Donald Trump called hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan repugnant on Monday and seemingly rejected their racist ideology. His original remarks followed widespread criticism for his failure to forcibly denounce white supremacists in the immediate aftermath of the violent clash. So, I mean, we were hearing a lot of criticism because he came out Saturday and people were waiting for him to, denounce these hate groups, and instead of saying that, he said that he was denouncing actions on all sides. Any racism, any bigotry on all sides was bad. And so it felt like he was really forced to come out and say yesterday that specifically came out and spoke against the white supremacist groups that were there.
Yeah, so if you've been watching this since the weekend, all sides have had so much to say about this. Anti-hate groups, people pro-alt-right and the Klan and what have you. Lots of conversation about Trump's reaction. But when I look at the whole situation, how the country as a whole has reacted, how some, we all have social media friends who have said not a word about it, not one thing. People have said stuff about that. It reminds me of a trip I took to Charleston this summer with my family, and we went to a slave market there. And it's set up between two buildings. It's now a museum. And they've made a roof over what was the alleyway in between these two buildings that was the slave market. And the museum curator explained to us the slaves were sold in this alley because there was a public ordinance in Charlotte that slave sales could not take place out in the open air in the public. And that struck me in such a way. It was in the alley, out of public, not because anyone was opposed to slave sales. Not because anyone realized this was the most wretched institution. It was that they didn't want to see that ugliness. They didn't want to see children taken from their parents, people sold away in shackles. And this situation feels the same to me. People don't want to see it. Charlottesville is not a surprise to many of us. That these people have been spewing this type of hatred is not a surprise. And let me take it a step further. The fact that this president did not immediately come out with strong language rejecting this type of ideology is not a surprise. And unless this country is going to take a good, strong, hard, honest look at how we feel about race in this country and how we communicate and navigate race, it's still in the alley. It's there, it's ugly, but so many people do not want to take a long, hard look at it and address it for what it is.
I have a question though. Maybe everybody can answer, maybe they can't, I don't know. But I thought, I was driving here today and I was thinking, the whole thing that this stood for, this whole Charlottesville, thing that is everything that it stood for, I thought, do you really want to take it down, take all the statues down, take all the flags down, and not have an inkling of a memory of it? Or is it better to have it as a part of history to learn from and to move on from and to realize how much hatred and how many things were going on behind closed doors that were ugly?
Yeah.
Is it better to make it disappear and erase it? Or is it better to talk about it and bring it to the forefront and leave that statue up there because of what it does represent, the ugliness that's happened in this world? So that was the question I was thinking when I was driving here today.
And to me, the difference in that is this. There is absolutely a place for that type of thing. It's called a museum. That's where you put the artifacts of history that you don't want to forget, where we can all learn from. It was a very real part of our history. Absolutely, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
The issue with a lot of the statues that you find in southern cities is they're in a place of prominence and they're revered and they're celebrated. It's different to look at something critically from an educational experience, but then to say Jeff Davis, Nathan Forrest, Robert E. Lee, that's something else. That's revering them, not looking at them straight on as a historical figure that had a very important part of our country's history. And so I think what I know people are wanting to take away is the reverence for these Confederate figures. In a city where I used to live, in Lexington, Kentucky, just this week, the mayor announced that he is moving the Confederate statues from their place of reverence and honor in downtown Lexington. He's moving them to Veterans Park, where they will be then placed next to 2 Union soldier statues that are in that park. And there it becomes a part of history where you study it and look at it with a critical eye, not one of reverence and celebration. And that's what I have a problem with, the flags and the Confederacy is still celebrated as a bastion of wonderfulness, when under the Confederacy, people who looked like me were enslaved, and I don't find that something to celebrate.
I mean, you, excuse me, you referenced President Trump, and this entire situation to me is just devastating. Is just one word to describe it. It's just sad. I mean, we kind of talked about it before we went on the air. It's just sad that this is the current state of our nation in 2017. I was out of town on Saturday, so I was like getting bits and pieces of the news, but I was really upset. I don't think President Trump's perfect. He is far from perfect. I think he does, though, get a lot of flack. I was very disappointed how long it took for him to say something. Yeah. And there was a guy, and I wish I remembered his name. He tweeted, "I challenged President Trump's apprentice ratings," and he tweeted me 20 times within 15 minutes. He goes, and it took him 2 days to say something about this. You kind of said, you know, about having the discussion. I'm not the biggest fan of Nancy Pelosi personally. Our politics don't always align. She had a great comment that was, Trump faced a fork in the road today, and he took it. He showed cowardice on Saturday by refusing to clout the racists and neo-Nazis, and on Monday, he showed how uncomfortable he was in delivering another kind of message. And I thought, what a great point, honestly. Because if you pay attention to politics like I do, for a long time, Republicans have been very shy to say, yeah, he's in the wrong. He is not doing what he should be doing. And that's why I was proud. There are senators, our very own Marco Rubio said, it's very important for the nation to hear POTUS describe events in Charlottesville for what they are, a terrorist attack by white supremacists. So I am happy there are Republicans who are starting to say, no, President Trump, you were wrong for this. It took you way too long to say anything, and that is shameful.
Because it isn't a partisan issue. Right. It's a decency issue.
And we heard, you know, during the campaign, you know, you hear comparisons over the weekend of how Donald Trump was trying to force President Obama at the time to say, well, you know, why can't you call it what it is, radical Islamic terrorism? Well, all right, well, President Trump, why aren't you calling this what it is, white supremacism? Just flat out racism and bigotry. You know, why can't you do the same? But to bring it kind of just back to a local point, yesterday it was announced that the president of Jacksonville City Council announced that she would like for the Confederate monuments to come down. So that obviously is something we're going to have to keep up with and see if it actually happens. Yeah.
All right, we're going to switch gears here. We're moving on to something much, much lighter something that will also start a conversation, though. Some might call it good news. This is about Allure magazine. Editors there announcing they are no longer going to use the term anti-aging in their publications. Allure's editor-in-chief, Michelle Lee, said, quote, whether we know it or not, we're subtly reinforcing the message that aging is a condition we need to battle. Lee is also calling on the entire beauty industry to get on board, saying, quote, we know it's not easy to change packaging and marketing overnight, but together we can start to change the conversation and celebrate beauty at all ages. Well, lovely.
I like, okay, so I had a very, at first I was like, what's the point? Like, it's just marketing, what's the big deal? But then I realized when I thought about it, every morning when I'm doing my makeup, I always go, smile lines. Like, I'm 28 years old and I have these smile lines and I'm already getting frustrated about them. Yeah. So we naturally already have this societally built fear of aging and how annoying it is. And I kind of like that this might help maybe girls suffering with body dysmorphic disorder and just, you know, self-esteem issues in general. It's just it's like a little spark to maybe hopefully start a better trend.
It's not going to matter whatsoever. Oh my gosh, magazines have done this for years and years. Television, media has done this. Newspapers have done this. I mean, these demonizing phrases we have talked about for years and years, and we will for years to come. They will take out that one phrase, anti-aging, and they will replace it with something new and innovative, and whatever happens to be the phrase of the moment, and we will then live by that one. Yeah. And I mean, that's just how it works.
As three women, does it really matter to you don't come with spears if it does. Does it really matter to you?
We all knew the answer was going to be
Does
yes.
it say
Yes.
anti-aging? Like, does that turn you off from a product? Does that make you kind of feel like, what's wrong with aging? Like,
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You have to think about it. The whole beauty industry is built around making you feel like there's something wrong with yourself. If everyone was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
well,
not
then
wearing
you wouldn't need any
blush
makeup
because-
anyway.
Right.
So you have to realize the entire industry is built around making us look at the commercial and be like, oh, my skin is a little dull today. Let me go get some of that. That's what it's built around. So whether it says anti-aging or not, you know, it makes you think, well, I am aging. Let me get some of that. You know what I mean? Now, that said, I admitted before, I've been using anti-aging products since I was like 25. I like skincare
Just why
stuff.
you look
for the
fabulous.
record, Stacey's
Anti-aging is
27,
working.
everybody.
Yeah.
So.
No, get whatever she's
Stacey's
using.
only 27.
And I turned 44 last week. But I mean, you know, whether you say anti-aging or not, I mean, people will still use products to try to just stave things off a little bit because, as you said, it's awful when you look in the mirror and see new stuff you didn't see
Yeah,
last
little
week.
eye wrinkles.
Every
For Christmas,
day.
my mom gave me eye cream, and I was like, "What is this for?" And then a few
Yes.
months later, oh,
Fourth finger,
Thanks,
dear.
Mom.
Fourth finger, fourth
Yeah.
finger.
You'll be so happy when you turn 40, but mom gave that to you at the age of 20.
Use it
Or
now with this
28.
lovely 20-something skin. Start on it now.
All right. Well, speaking of beauty, there could soon be more options for all you men out there. Yep. L'Oreal's UK managing director said male beauty counters could come to life in 5 to 7 years. L'Oreal embraced men in makeup early by partnering with Gary Thompson, aka the Plastic Boy. Everybody remember the Plastic Boy in 2016, and Jake Jamie Ward last February. So Joey, we're going to turn to you, our testosterone at the table today. I mean, do you think that this is going to make a difference? Do you think that men are really going to take to this
Here's my opinion
makeup
on
counter
this.
for men?
I think if it was more socially acceptable, men would not think twice about doing this. Truly. I said on the show, I was in a...
Meaning, if the girls won't look at you sideways when you come with better
Exactly.
highlight than she has
Yes.
on.
Because
Yep.
I said on the show, I was in a production of Beauty and the Beast this past summer, and you know when you're on stage lights, even here when the lights are bright, you do want something on your face, you're not washed out. I'm like, listen, I'm not taking my chances looking rough in this show. Beat the face. And I did. But here's the-
Beat
but
that
so
face.
I do think if it was more socially acceptable, guys would be up for it. Listen, full disclosure, before I get on this show, I put anti-shine on. I'm like, I ain't playing
You're
the game.
so
This
cute.
is
Oh my
TV.
God.
What do you wear in regular life?
Oh, nothing, just like moisturizer. Yeah.
I think
Is
if
it
they did that
tinted?
more.
No, I don't think so.
Oh my God.
It's Nivea for men. I'm like, I don't know. It's a
They're
wrong.
starting to sneak it in with that. Just do a little tint to help out.
But here's
you
the
know.
thing, though. I know there are many social media influencers, that's for Catalina, that have built an empire over being male makeup artists. For instance, I was just in a Mac with two of my friends this past weekend, and the person that worked on my friend was a man. And we all walked away and was like, his makeup was bomb. Like,
Yeah,
to be a guy.
exactly.
See, I think the psychology of this is going to take over because back in the day in the 1920s, way back, the men used to wear more makeup than women. And
rouge,
so they
the
used
powder
they used to
and
paint their faces. And you do that in order to stand out, to make yourself look better than all the other men. And so then women took on to that trend and we started doing that. And so I think it's going to come full circle that men are going to do that and they're doing it better, might I say.
I mean,
some of these are
look,
doing
I
it a lot
can't do that
better
with my
than we
eyes.
are.
I don't think guys like
Especially
this
brows.
gentleman
Oh my
right here.
gosh.
I don't think guys are going to contour to have high cheekbones. Frankly, I don't think guys care. But like that guy, not this
Some
guy,
guys
but the
do.
other guy. I saw something he did that was like, I'm a man and I wear makeup too, and it showed that he doesn't have the clearest skin, and so he does it for his insecurities. That I can kind of see maybe taking on in 5 to 7 years, whatever L'Oreal said it would take. I mean, didn't CoverGirl just sign their like first ever male?
James Charles.
Supermodel.
James
male-
Charles, yeah.
Male spokesperson.
Yeah, he's kind of the same thing. He's this makeup beauty guru. He's
Right.
only like 17, 18 years old, and he cuts his cheeks to the gods, and his highlighter's amazing, and his eyebrows are incredible. But you're seeing more people like that, more people who are coming out and they want to get creative with makeup, and you know, why not? Why not give? Because I think there's also a change in formula that guys need just because their pores are normally a little larger.
Right.
So it, you know,
It'll be
they
fun
might
to see
not
where
need
that
that
one
craziness,
goes.
but maybe a tinted moisturizer, Joey,
I
that
have a
could be
problem
in your
with
future.
this because I think they do it better. I don't want this trend to take off.
Well, see, I'll be excited if someone could just do my makeup for me. That'd
Yeah,
be great.
exactly.
All right, well, coming up next, an actress who's currently sharing the stage with Gabrielle Union in Being Mary Jane. We meet Rainey Branch when we come back.